everyone, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 50 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in ECW history with match number 1 on our list. We finally made it the absolute best ECW match of all time. Now, this is the 3rd season of this show, and if you've been watching since the start, Season 1, the top 50 matches of 2020, my number 1 pick, maybe a little bit outside the box. Season 2, top 50 matches in Impact Wrestling history, my number 1, maybe a little bit outside the box. Here, though, with ECW, depending on who you ask, if you ask, an old school OG ECW fan what the best match in ECW history is, I think the answer that you will get from a good percentage of that fan base is the match that I have also chosen as number 1. I feel like my number 2 pick, if you watched yesterday's video, was, a little bit out there, that maybe, people wouldn't have expected to rank as high as it did. But when it came down to it for number 1, I rewatched everything. So remember that. I rewatched ECW television from 94 to the end, every pay-per-view, a lot of the fan cams. I watched it all for this project. And when all was said and done, I went with the popular pick because it really is the best embodiment of everything that makes ECW so special, and it is arguably Paul Heyman's greatest moment as a booker I think there ever was. And I am talking about the 2 out of 3 falls double dog collar match for the ECW World Tag Team titles between the champions Raven and Stevie Richards and the challengers the Pitbulls, Pitbull number 1 and Pitbull number 2 from the Gangstas Paradise event held on September the 16th in 1995. So Raven and Stevie were the tag team champions. Raven was, using and abusing Stevie, all throughout the year since making his debut in early 95. The Pitbulls kind of started as lackeys for Jason in 94 and were almost kind of heel jobbers before gaining some popularity and getting a strong push leading into this match in 95. So this match, Raven uses an expression, he calls it the dog and pony show, right? Where it's, all of these different moving parts that you use to create drama throughout the match. And no match, I think, in pro wrestling history ever does it as well as this match does, Raven or anybody else taken into account there. So we get a promo at the start where Raven comes out alone, so without Stevie Richards. Beulah cuts a promo basically saying that Stevie Richards broke his arm at a house show the night before and was unable to compete. While this is going on, Joey Styles is on commentary saying Stevie Richards has not broke his arm. He was in the back earlier. What kind of elaborate ploy is this by Raven? So Beulah goes on to say that, to make this match fair, it needs to be 2 out of 3 falls to give Raven a fighting chance. So basically, Raven knows that there's a very good possibility that the Pitbulls, who generally win their matches in very short order, could absolutely steamroll him and Stevie Richards. So he uses this elaborate ruse of Stevie being out to convince the Pitbulls into agreeing to make this match a 2 out of 3 falls match, which they do. Pitbull number 2 chains himself up with Raven and just begins to absolutely decimate him, while Pitbull number 1 goes to the back to find Stevie Richards, which he does, knowing, like Joey Styles said, that he wasn't hurt, and he brings Stevie out to the ring, and Stevie's already busted open from the back, from Pitbull attacking him. But as they are coming out to ringside, in the ring, Raven manages to score a flash pile driver on Pitbull number 2 through a table, which is enough to put him away for the 3 count and win the first fall in an upset in relatively short order, which is a great little piece of business because ultimately this match really didn't need to be 2 out of 3 falls, considering how quickly the first and second fall went, but it just added these little wrinkles to it that show, the cracks in Raven's foundation starting, where if Raven had just left well enough alone and kept this match as is and not have to dig into his bag of tricks and try, all of this funny business, him and Stevie Richards would have retained the tag team titles. But ultimately, That's not what happened. So after this quick first fall, with Raven getting this upset, the Pitbulls just destroy both of them, and they very quickly hit Super Bomb, which was their finish, on Stevie Richards off the top through a table to very quickly even it out at one fall apiece. As we go into the third fall, we kind of get a bit of a classic ECW brawl to start. We get a referee bump, and out come the Dudleys. So at this time in '95, the Dudleys are not your Bubba Ray and Devon that you might, famously know them as. We have the Dudley contingent of Dudley and D.W. Dudley, Dances with Dudley, that are the ones that come out. And they, attack the Pitbulls. They help Raven and Stevie. There's been a loose affiliation there throughout the past couple of months. And Raven and Stevie, just in a great slap in the face to the Pitbulls, they hit them with stereo super bombs, with the Dudleys helping prop them up. But again, just in a great piece of business, very much Road Warriors-esque. The Pitbulls no-sell the super bombs. How dare anybody hit them with their own moves, especially Raven and Stevie Richards, which have been presented as being, weaker and inferior to the Pitbulls. So they no-sell these. They hit DDTs on both of them, and then they take out both Dudley members with super bombs of their own. We get a really good near fall here where the Pitbulls end up hitting a super bomb on Raven through a table, much like how they won fall number 2 against Stevie Richards. Raven takes just an absolutely awful bump where the back of his head just bounces off the table, which doesn't break. But since the referee was out from the Dudleys ambush, we get the dramatic slow count that allows Raven to kick out. While all this is happening, in the chaos, Raven pulls out a rag soaked with ether, which sounds, old school and ridiculous, but it totally works here. He uses the ether on Pitbull number 2, which he takes him out and he lies him across 2 stacked tables that are at ringside. He hits an ugly leg drop off the top rope onto the tables, which kind of don't break. They all kind of fall off of them, and then Raven proceeds to hit an elbow drop off the ring apron through the table to an unconscious due to the ether Pitbull number 2. So while all this is going on, Pitbull number 1 is destroying Stevie Richards. Paramedics come out and they're attending to Pitbull number 2, and they start to carry him to the back because he's unconscious from the ether-soaked rag. Well, all of this is going on. Beulah comes in the ring and tries to help, Raven and Stevie get the one-up on Pitbull number 1, and that brings out Francine. So Francine was pretty early into her ECW career at this point, and she had started, believe it or not, as the girlfriend of Stevie Richards. So she was a fan in the crowd that started to show her affection towards Stevie. They kind of became an item, and Raven actually forced, with the manipulation and the control he has over Stevie Richards, he forced Stevie Richards to turn on Francine in a match between Francine and Beulah where Stevie was the referee. And that allowed Beulah to get the win, obviously, sparked that, feud between Beulah and Francine that would always kind of seem to be simmering, for the entire duration of Beulah's ECW career over the next couple of years. So Francine comes out, gets in the face of Beulah. We get the classic ECW cat fight. This would ultimately lead to Francine siding with the Pitbulls and being their manager before she would eventually turn on Pitbull number 2 and join Shane Douglas at Heatwave 96. But we get the big cat fight, and it leads to Raven DDTing Francine. While all of this is going on, Tommy Dreamer, who is engaged in, the most personal, bitter rivalry of all time in wrestling history with Raven, comes out. Keep in mind, dog collar match. Pitbull number 2 is taken to the back. In order to do that, they had to unchain him from Raven's dog collar. Out comes Tommy. He chains himself onto the other end of Raven's dog collar and proceeds to start beating the hell out of him. I talked about this in the Raven and Tommy match from WrestlePalooza 97, that even though it had happened on some, fan cam house shows, the storyline that they were really driving home on television was that Tommy Dreamer could not beat Raven. He could not pin him. So we get, this back and forth. Tommy eventually hits the DDT on Raven, covers, and gets the 1, 2, 3. Again, Joey Styles, to his credit, is incredible here, selling that Tommy Dreamer finally did it. Tommy Dreamer finally beat Raven. Tommy Dreamer has finally become a champion in ECW, and that him and Pitbull number 1 are the unlikely new ECW World Tag Team Champions. It's a great moment until heel referee Bill Alfonso comes out. So we've talked a little bit about this, although Fonzie would ultimately end up being the manager of Taz and then later Rob Van Dam and Sabu. He came in as a heel referee. He'd been a referee in WCW and WWF. He came into ECW basically as the Philadelphia, or the Pennsylvania, I should say, State Athletic Commission's, representative referee, and he would enforce rules in ECW where there generally wouldn't be rules, but he would do it in a slimeball heel way that would raise the ire of the crowd tremendously. One of the best heel characters of all time, in my opinion. So Fonzie comes out, and he starts waving everything off and says, no, that he's striking that finish from the record, that Tommy Dreamer was not an official participant in the match, and therefore his pinfall that he finally gained over Raven would not count, and because Pitbull number 2 was unable to continue, this match was now canceled. It was your winners by basically TKO, we'll say, Raven and Stevie Richards. While all of this is going on, we get Todd Gordon, the owner of ECW, that comes out, and basically, he had been in a program with Bill Alfonso that would lead to a one-on-one match between them at the November to Remember 1995 pay-per-view a couple of months later. He comes out, gets in the face of Fonzie, says absolutely not, this match will continue. That allows Fonzie to knock out Todd Gordon to, really escalate their rivalry, as now they've gotten physical with each other. And while all of that is going on, Big Dick Dudley, the other member of the Dudley clan, comes out and kind of provides that muscle and that backup to Bill Alfonso, and he chokeslams Tommy Dreamer. Now, the chokeslam had been banned in ECW at this time by Bill Alfonso. The reason being, there was a competitor in ECW by the name of 911 that was just a big stiff of a man that, ultimately outside of that ECW bubble where he was so over. It is incredible how over 911 was. He really wouldn't gain traction. He had a couple of matches as Big Al in WCW. He wrestled the Giant on a Nitro or on a Saturday night once, but really, never really worked out of that ECW bubble. Bill, for months since Bill Alfonso debuted, ECW fans were praying and hoping for 911 to hit his signature chokeslam on Bill Alfonso. And every time he would get close, he wouldn't be able to hit it for one reason or another. And then Bill Alfonso, pulled that monkey out of his hat, or that rabbit out of his hat, I should say, that's the expression, that, the chokeslam would be banned. And then that way he didn't have to worry about 911 hitting him with it. So after Big Dick hits the chokeslam on Tommy Dreamer, Alfonso immediately realizes that he has to do something because that was a banned maneuver. Big Dick Dudley is his muscle. He can't lose him. So Alfonso gets on the mic and says, I'm unbanning the chokeslam. The chokeslam is unbanned. The chokeslam's fine. It's fine that Big Dick Dudley did it. Well, that's all it took. For one night only, the chokeslam was unbanned. Enter 911, who finally gets his hands on Bill Alfonso and delivers the chokeslam to him. The crowd goes ballistic, one of the biggest pops in ECW history, for an absolutely great moment where a heel character finally gets his comeuppance to a super over face in something that they'd been building up for months. Now, while all of this is going on, you may have forgotten that we still have this tag team title match that's transpiring. So Alfonso's taken out, the Dudleys are taken out, Pitbull number 2 makes his way back to the ring, chains himself back up, and we go to the finish, which is an all-timer of a finish where, with Tommy Dreamer's help, they hit a double super bomb where Raven and Stevie are stacked on top of each other in an electric chair position while they get driven off the top with the super bomb, and it is enough for the 3 count, and the Pitbulls finally become the ECW World Tag Team Champions, finishing the ascent from jobbers to, the main event level superstars that they were. You get continuation of Raven and Tommy. You get continuation of Alfonso and Gordon. You get continuation of Francine and Beulah. You now have Francine paired with the Pitbulls. You have, the big, satisfying payoff to 911 finally chokeslamming Bill Alfonso. This match is perfect in every way, shape, or form. It is an incredible thrill ride. It is brutal. It is entertaining. And, I've said this before with ECW. If you watch this match on its own in a vacuum, it's good. It was available on commercial releases and things like that. But if you had been watching every episode of the TV like I did, it makes this match so much better and so rewarding, and it is truly the apex of everything that made ECW great, and it is absolutely must-see for anybody that has ever wanted to get into ECW. And if anybody that was an original ECW fan, like I said, if you ask them the question, what's the best ECW match of all time, I bet you 9 times out of 10, this will be your answer. It is why it's number one. It is a deserving number one, and you absolutely need to see it. You can find it, of course, on the WWE Network. It could be on Peacock, but it did get a commercial release on, I believe, the Rise and Fall of ECW DVD. If not on that one, it is on one of the WWE-produced ECW DVDs. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you don't miss a video. Coming soon, we will have Season 4 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. It'll be airing in a couple of weeks. I'm not going to spoil what the topic is going to be yet, but hopefully it's something that I find that a lot of you have fun with, and it's something that has recently kind of come back into the forefront and become, you know, relevant once again. So it's really good timing for it. Between now and then, though, I am going to have some special episodes drop where we will recap, you know, the previous seasons with some special guests that are experts on the subject matter. I hope you be on the lookout for that and really enjoy those as well. You can follow me in the meantime, of course, on Facebook, or pardon me, not Facebook, on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling50. And as always, please join me again soon for Season 4 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50.